Hi, welcome back as we get on from where we left last time so that we can see all the concerns that are contained in the book that are affecting the young people. Today we want to talk from point 8 to 14. And one of these concerns that they raised, that is point 8, is the boy child. Now, that raises a concern that is really directly affecting these boys, because what we have heard in the past and everyone is much interested is all about the girl child. The question that everyone else will ask, why is it easy for us to talk about the initiative to support a girl child than the boy? Could it be the girl child is more favored than the boy? The boy child then, as at now, feels neglected, even by their own parents. And an experience that was shared by one boy that is in page 18 of this book is when he said or shared what happened when his own father told him that he would not do the same shopping to him as his sister. The reason being, boys are carers. Today, these young boys are asking you as fathers, do you think we are carers? How would it feel when your son feels that what you know about him is his carelessness, or he cannot be like the sister? Something that is very sad, something that we need to come and address it for us to help them. Until we develop what I have said in the book, a positive self-image to these boys, or they develop positive self-image in themselves, there is going to be a continuous negative competition between the boy child and the girl child. It is us who are grown up, it is us who understand them, it is us who watch them, who can help them to create this proper working relationship. And that's why I've always said, if we want to help our young boys to become great men, the first people to take the initiative, and a serious one, they are the mothers and sisters. When they speak to them positively, when they encourage them, when they see the best in them and wish them the best, they will motivate and inspire them to become the people they want in their lives. It's that easy, but it's not going to be something easily done, especially when we always think that the boy should be the strong one. They should face every obstacle. But it is necessary for us to remember that they are human, they are weak, they can be emotional, and they need to be helped to deal with such a state. Moving to another concern, that is number 9, where I talk about drug abuse, a concern raised again by the young people. Now, what do you understand about drugs? It's easy to take as drugs. If you take as drugs, you can use them to be cured or to restore your health. But when we talk about drugs abuse, is when you take any substance and misuse it. In most cases, we think that we do abuse drugs. But when we had a chat with these young people, together we realized that you can never abuse drugs. They will abuse you. They are substances. They will not spare you. They will ground you. They are not shameful to put you off. If we come and believe that substances have effects in us that can be worse than we expect when we start using them, the best thing I would wish every one of us to realize is the area we realize that this is a no-go zone area. If we want to be saved, we should keep off. An observation that has been made and that is affecting young people is when we see the abuse of those substances that we least expect. And this has stressed many, and above all, they have been left wondering what might have gone wrong. Imagine kids growing without seeing their parents because of drinking. They can afford to come late in the night, and maybe because of their nature of work, leaving early in the morning. A child living, growing, not having the presence of the mother or the father. How would you think this kid will feel? What kind of life will they have when they will have the freedom? What will they have learned from you as parents when it comes to family life? Drugs, we all agree, they have brought more effects than anything, especially poor health. So many people are suffering because of the substance they have used. There are some who cannot do without. We have some getting into the stuck of life. They can't move, or they cannot continue to live the same way because of the conflict that have occurred. We have experienced divorce cases, child abuse coming out of it, rape cases, and so on. This happens mostly because the people, some of them who are involved in such a crime, they are not themselves. One thing we need to be assured, and what we should hear that is in the book from the young people, is we are assured that no one will use substances and live a happy life for long. But the worst is when you choose to get into the company of using drugs or another substances to be absent from your family. The young people are reminding you as your children, as their siblings, that they still love you, because it is in loving we can help you change. And this comes from exactly what we see in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 2, verse 40 to 47. What sustained the first community when everything was shut down, when people didn't know how to call themselves, But the disciples remembered all that Christ did with them. They were left together, living and holding everything in common, breaking the bread every day, praying. This helped them remain united to overcome any other fear they had, to overcome any other challenge they faced. And if this is what we learn from the first community, we too, as the family of God today, we cannot let go. Because one thing we know, if Christ left us the Last Supper to be the source of our spiritual nourishment, we don't want to be like the people of Israel who never learned a lesson even after celebrating the last supper in Egypt, which is the Passover, when you confer Exodus chapter 12. The question that every one of us will ask, why couldn't these people of Israel know that by disobeying, by going against the will of God, it attracted their slavery? But even when they got away, when they are still on their journey of freedom, they got being attracted to what happened in Egypt. We too, when we want to move forward, there is that kind of spirit that is trying to pull us backward. Unless and otherwise we are focused to love, to sacrifice, to let go, we cannot make a greater difference. We know it right when we read chapter 13 of the Gospel of John. When Christ washes the feet of his disciples, he asked them, "Did you understand what I have done?" He did wash them not for fun, not because he wanted to belittle himself, but to teach them a lesson, to be always ready to be at the service of their brethren. He said, "You may not understand now, but you will understand." It is when we sacrifice to give, to offer service, to help, to transform, to stretch our hands to help others become better, that we get to enjoy a peaceful living. The only fight we have is on how we can together join hands, help our brothers who have been destroyed or who are in the process of being destroyed by the misuse of drugs. Having said that, this brings us to another concern, that is concern number 10, about now something that is giving hope, that the young people still do believe and they want to be part of the church. Faith and the church. I don't know why many people presume that young people cannot come to the church, or faith is not as much important to them. I had this group that really got concerned, and they were like, how can we become better Christians than anyone else? So look, from the young we have all this diversity of all what happens. And if this is really their desire, faith is lived, and the church is a community of believers where you and me are members. This is where these youngsters want to come and belong. This is where they want to be identified with as their extended family or as their spiritual family. Where every one of us forgets about ourselves and we get concerned about the needs of each other. Therefore, the only first thing we need to do, and as I put in the book, is to remember the words of our Lord Jesus when he kept saying, "Let the little ones come to me." He knew the place he wanted to give them. There is no way, if the Lord kept welcoming them, we can say he did that only in the past. But right even today, he is telling the young people, come. Or anyone who would want to hinder them to come to him, let them come to me. That is the beauty of being young. That is the beauty of knowing what God expects of us. And that is the beauty of being ready to go back to our Creator. This is an invitation that whether you are learned, whether you are young or old, we can't ignore. Because at the end of the day, all of us, we are the children of God if we do what God is asking us. But we lose that part of us belonging to the kingdom when we allow other worldly things to taint that which God has put in us, of which we should not allow. And in any case, it has happened, especially what the young people are asking us, we help them to keep the direction moving towards him. And that's the beauty. They are ready, by the way. I love what Pope Benedict the 16th said. Having a clear faith based on the creed of the church is often labeled today as fundamentalism, whereas relativism, which is letting ourselves be tossed and swept along by every wind of teaching, looks like the only attitude acceptable to today's standards. Did you realize that there's so much wrong things people can do and they walk unquestioned? Why does that happen? And what should happen? There is nothing, and I repeat, you can do if you are not grounded. Look at what we talk about buildings. If the foundation is not well done, you have no building. The same thing with our lives. If your life is not well done, you have no future. Therefore, there's no way or there's no need for you as a young person to shy off from holding to what you have received, especially from your parents, especially from your guardians, or from your church. There will be many people who will come to tell you otherwise. But you can only lose the focus if you do not know what you should be holding dearly. We should know one thing. Faith is being fought because it is focused on God. Or it is through faith, any one of us can be on the road going back to the Father. So if you are on that road you would expect all sorts of troubles on the way. Anyone who is against faith is one who wants to be a god. And because they want to become gods, they will do whatever it takes to make sure that you follow them. Yet God gives us the freedom, the free will that we need to choose with our consciences. When we are conscious of what we should do, who we are, and where we need to go, we get to be on the safe side. Albert Einstein's experience of God, he said this: it is that deep emotional conviction of the presence of a superior reasoning power, which is revealed in the incomprehensible universe, forms my idea of God. Wow. Whether we like it or not, when we look at things and marvel what we see and what we experience, there must be the cause of all that. And as Albert says rightly, then we need to see God in all this. Even when things are getting darkened, in fact, it is in the darkness that faith sees rightly. It is in the darkness that our faith is tested. It is in the darkness we start to grow. Perfect. You can't wait to do that. You can't. I've said that. I've quoted that, and it's on page 23 of my book. So that when we live to hold that image and likeness of God, when we become people of faith, it doesn't matter which age we are. Because William Shakespeare said this: now God be praised that to believing souls gives light in darkness, comfort in despair. Wow. Those who believe, those of us who keep believing that in dark moment, in trying moment, we will keep seeing light. And we will be comforted when we are about to despair. The comfort here, it doesn't mean that we are going to be put where there are no challenges. No. In fact, when we talk about spiritual consolation, it's not what we can take to mean physical consolation. But spiritual consolation is when we go even during tough moments when we cannot see, but because we believe, because we trust, because we have surrendered all to God, we are even encouraged more to keep the focus. How beautiful is that? This doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen in maybe a month. It doesn't happen in 1 year. It happens every day, that when we keep following the living God to become the people He has created to be. You will find all that in page 23 in my book. But then another well-lived experience from Martin Luther King Jr. He said this: all who call on God in true faith, earnestly from the heart, will certainly be heard and will receive what they have asked and desired. A quick one there. What are you desiring as a young person? What are you desiring as someone who want to change with the young people, what are you desiring as a parent? A good question. God will always respond to our heart's desires. In what way? That is something else. But He will never let us, when we desire to be with Him above everything else, that He will shame us. When we will sacrifice to let go and look at Him every now and again, we will be assured of all that comes from Him. This brings us to another aspect. That is number 11. We talk about life. What do these young people think about life? It's something that we really need to look at and ask, what does that mean? And what should it be for any one of us? When I look at what life is, maybe there are those who may take it for granted. But for me, I find it the hardest question. Because life is not because I'm talking to you, I'm just living. No, it goes beyond just being there. But I look at it in a very philosophical way when I talk about life as being. Now, that is a real challenge. When you talk about life is being, it's questions, where are you, someone full of life, transforming, bringing the change that you have desired in your life. Today, we are made conscious of what we have taken for granted for many days. We have, all the days that you have lived, been breathing freely. But until this virus came, that has made anyone who gets to theater have to pay dearly for what God has given us for free. That's when we need to look back and ask, why did this coronavirus invade our people, making us, all of us, at risk? I want to believe is an attention we are being called to remember that what Paul says, whether we live or whether we die, we live for God. And any one of us who is going to be comfortable, any one of us who is going to make a difference, is not going to say what they expect out of the corona, but what they look forward from God. Lord, if it's your will, let it be done. But it's not going to be our will anymore. Zig Ziglar looked at the success in life in this way. The real opportunity for success lies within the person and not in the job. When we look at what we have heard from Zig Ziglar talking about, we are not going to have what we need when we get material things or good jobs. It's who we are. Then we need to remember this. We have the potential to become who God wants us to be. And it's going to call me and you to build this potential in our gifted areas for us to give our best to the people around us, to the communities, to even uplifting those who are in need. Success then will be not waiting for one day to be told that we are successful, but what we will do each day. Because one thing I know is, when we look at life and see being a big challenge, when we face this big challenge, we just realize that there is a solution. And the solution is going to come out if we are a part of it. That is going to work to make it all effective and successful for all of us. And that's why I love this kind of comparison of Willie Roches when he said, the quickest way to double your money is to fold it over and put it back in your pocket. What does that mean? That means he's someone who wants to coil into the comfort zone. You are not ready to take a risk. But my friend, what will you gain? Everything demands risk or calls for, to some extent, of risking if we want to make a difference. But how much will that money give you if it remains? That means you are not going to make use of it. You may end up dying. You may end up not growing, but only remain there. And as we said, life is when you are being there fully alive or conscious of who you are, what you are supposed to do, where you are supposed to go. That gives more impact to any one of us. So, a challenge that is coming right on. What small things can you do today to change your life? No matter how they may look, can they make a difference in your life? And if you do that, trust me, you will never sit to lament. This brings us to point number 12 when we talk about technology and social media. We are in a generation where we talk about everyone is ahead of everything. Really? The young people, when you look at them and the way they live, the way they act, the way, everything that goes around them, you are like, wow, our days were not like this. But is this all that there is in life? Technology, when we look at the dictionary, it's just about the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, especially in industry, that has brought machines, that has made work easy, that has brought much development like what we are using now. If it was not for this corona, maybe I would have not thought to be in front of the camera where you can get what I'm saying and see me doing it. So we are grateful for this. But it came as a challenge. It came as a response to this COVID-19, because I believe what I'm doing is going not only to help you, it's going to help someone else. I've written a book, something that is recorded, that you will make use of it, not only today, but even to your future. It's something that we need to realize that there's so much that there is outside there, but unless we make the right use of it, we are not heading anywhere. Therefore, as youngsters, one thing I can give you, or the encouragement I can give you, is to tell you technology, social media is there for everyone. It has so much goodness because so many people have invested to put all that we can see. But not everyone wants to use it in the right way. So make a choice. What I've said in page 26 of my book. Why do people get into social media, end up feeling bad? It's because in social media, we have instant feedbacks. People will tell you what they think about you, whether they like you or not. Now, if you are not mature enough to accept these frictions, to accept those who think differently from you, don't run into these spaces unless you get to be mature enough to deal with the pressure that comes with it. It is a time, especially when young people are at home, are trying to use these medias for learning. Be assured, many are gaining. But don't forget, there is a good number too that are being misread because they are not using them rightly. It is then necessary you seek good guidance when you want to make use of this. And you will, at the end of the day, be grateful for the outcome. Having said that, this brings us to concern number 13. We are almost finishing. We have 14 concerns here. You can be assured of this, that is what also affects many people. The care of the environment. What's the environment? Is our surrounding. If I had to sit here to record, I need to get a quiet room where I'm able to record the voice with the proper lighting for you to see what's happening. The same thing is demanded about in everything or in life that we live. And I love what Pope Francis has said when talking about our home. Pope Francis talks about a home or our home. A true ecological approach always becomes a social approach. It must integrate questions of justice in debates of environment so as to hear both the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. Laudate Si. That's the document of the Catholic Church written by Pope Francis. Look at that kind of connection, that when we are going to have a conducive environment, we have to listen to the cry of the earth, that is our home, and the cry of the poor, who are the needy brothers and sisters. Who is a poor person? Is anyone in need of our support? Who is the poor during coronavirus period? Is every one of us. Because we have realized that we need each other to be safe. And unless we go back and join hands to make this environment work for us, we have a long way to go. We will live in peace if we start taking care of the environment. One of the young persons shared a concern when he said, imagine when they walk around and when they find strange smell coming after the rains, and there they go to ask their parents, what is wrong? Only to find that someone somewhere, when it rained, they just got into their sewage system, drained them to the running waters. Then these youngsters are asking, what would happen with us when we play in these waters? What kind of risk are these kids exposed to? Would we keep ignoring these kind of questions? Or what would you think they would feel as young people when they are being held in the houses that they cannot go out and have fun? It's because someone somewhere has become their enemy right there where they are. It's a big challenge that we cannot have a prying eye on the same. But it's an encouragement, young or old. Let us be conscious what we do and the outcome. You may do something as a shortcut, something as a way to gain. But I can tell you, it's not going to be fair. God wants us to be saved because from the beginning, He put this environment we enjoy and gave us a home there. We have no other home. After this, we know we are going back to Him in a spiritual world. But as far as we are in these bodies, we need to take care of this. And this should start now. If that is done, we come to the last concern of the young people. When they talk about, or when they are curious about what it means to be a leader. And we have said it rightly. They have always gotten pissed off. They have always been pissed off when they are always told that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. From my mentor, John Maxwell, I have changed my life when I came to realize this. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. He has taught us that. And I have come to believe it, that there is much more when you talk about influence. Because influence is not going to be out of any coercion, but it's going to be out of personal will to follow someone of great substance, someone of great mind, someone of great vision, someone of great heart. If that is what we need to realize, then the scriptures are right. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, it says, train the boy the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not swerve from it. Who is going to do that training? Train them when they are boys. They will get the right way to walk and they will keep it. They will never swerve. The word of God has said it. But they will swerve if they have no right training when they are young. You can't train them when they are grown up. Let us take advantage. And you young people listening to me, take advantage now to mold yourself to the person you want to be. Again, Proverbs chapter 23, 19 to 22. It says, hear my son and be wise, and guide your heart in the right way. Consort not with wine pipers, nor with those who eat meat to excess. For the drunkard and gluttony come to poverty. Listen to your father who begot you, and despise not your mother when she is old. Wow. What kind of reward when we do this to our youngsters? We are assured there is no shame when they grow up. They will do everything right. And that's why I want to remember one thing that happened when I visited one home of the children's home. And on arrival, as I parked my car, these kids surrounded the car. I found them peeping inside, and I had letter KDF. I didn't know what that is, bring KDF. For me, I know KDF is Kenya Defense Force. So when these kids shouted, bring KDF, I thought that they are calling for police. And I said, what has gone wrong for them to call for the police? After some times, I asked one of them, what does it mean with the word KDF? Only to find that it's some types of cookies that are found in our markets. I felt so embarrassed because that time they were shouting, bring KDF. They had seen some bread that I had carried for them. but I didn't give them at that time. Was I ignorant? How many of us have been leading people, we do not understand their language or their needs? Do you communicate, or what happens? It's something that we need to question and really get the right answer. We need to have the same language with these young people for us to help them. So let us know this. The young are ready to learn so that they can lead their lives to achieve their dreams. Leadership is an art that we should develop daily if this is going to make a change in all that we want to do. May you allow the young people develop first themselves, because they want to be responsible leading their life. They are ready to do that. And I want to believe when they keep reading this book, they will get it right. And that is so amazing. It brings us to the end of chapter 1. And how I wish we look forward to what is happening. But as I said, and as I want to just go quickly on the concerns that we have said, right here on the table of content, you will find them and read one by one and see what I've said in it. We started with peer pressure. They are concerned about boarding school, disappointment in family life, child abuse, what affects children in the families, the girl child and her problem, adolescence, boy child today we have talked about, drug abuse. They are concerned about faith in the church. What is life for them? Technology and social media, caring for the environment, and lastly, what it means to lead. All that are the concerns, at least, are featured in this book. Before you start looking for other concerns, take some time and address those ones, and you will be amazed. You can always get this copy for yourself, for your son or daughter, as a way to keep you enlightened and helping the young to develop. Looking forward to see you as you follow this training in the upcoming feed.